We have live team coverage of Hurricane Floyd this morning.
Officials say by now,
we are feeling the full force of Floyd's winds and rains.
Some waves north of the eye center at 54 feet.
And winds possibly topping more than 100 miles per hour.
It happened last September. Hurricane Floyd barreled up the East Coast. The winds and water destroyed homes, businesses, and cars. Thousands of cars. In fact, the floodwaters wrecked 50,000 cars in North Carolina alone, another 60,000 in other states.
Water that has been through farms, it's been through cities.
And it's got anything in it from minerals to bacteria to whatever is floating down with the flood. And once that kind of stuff permeates a foam or gets down in the doors, there's hardly a way to get it out.
And there's little chance you'll get much money out of the car either. Usually they end up here at auction. The flooding causes so much damage, the vehicle should be sold for salvage only.
You can never restore the safety systems, the steering, the brakes, the airbag systems to their original condition. The cars are unsafe and shouldn't be returned to the road. In fact, they should really be deemed non-repairable.
But too often they're refurbished and resold, only to resurface on the roads.
A lot of those cars have already been returned to the streets and sold to unsuspecting consumers. They don't have the knowledge that the vehicle was involved in a flood.
There are laws designed to protect you from getting sunk. Most states require insurance companies that declare a vehicle a total loss from flood or damage to do this, to say so on the title. That helped Drew Van Dopp. He saw an internet ad for this Lexus ES300, so he called Nadia Imports and asked them about it. The dealership listed the Lexus for nearly $7,000 below market value and said it had only 1,000 miles and power everything.
I called the guy and I said, this sounds almost too good to be true. Can you tell me, is there a story behind this car? And he said, yeah, there was a situation where there was a problem between the husband and wife. There might have been a divorce or something. They just wanted to dump the car, but that it was a great car.
Though the salesman was reluctant, Drew says he eventually got the car's vehicle identification number and ran it through the car title research firm Carfax.
And that's when I learned that the car in question had a salvage title against it, that it had been totaled in a flood. For my money, I learned enough to say, you know, there's plenty of cars to go look at. I felt like I didn't need to go look at this one.
Sometimes it's not so easy.
The laws have enough loopholes that they can jump through them.
Stephen Radich thought he found his dream truck when he bought this used F-350 for $33,000 from a local dealership. He was wrong.
It's been nothing but a hassle. I mean, it's been a nightmare.
Stephen says he's been drowning in repairs.
It was in for turbo problems, it's been in for transmission problems, it's been in for keyless entry problems, various electrical problems.
Stephen says he wishes he would have checked out the truck before he bought it. He ran the VIN number through Carfax when he started having problems, but unlike Drew, Stephen didn't find out everything he needed to know. We did learn that the truck was originally purchased in Ohio, but was retitled in Michigan 9 months later. 4 months after that, the truck was put up for auction, and a Maryland dealership bought it. That's where Stephen got it. Now, the dealership told Stephen that Ford bought that truck back from the original owner because of an axle problem they say had been taken care of. Stephen even signed this disclosure form about that problem. So running the VIN didn't tell Stephen much, but there are red flags. First, the Carfax report shows that the truck had changed hands at least 3 times in just 13 months. Second, it was put up for auction. Those two things should have prompted Stephen to dig deeper. He should have asked the dealership for a warranty repair history.
I'm going to take this bolt loose so the whole panel will move.
Automotive consultant Joe Kuhn did, and he found a laundry list of problems.
They replaced the oil filter, the water separator, and the air filter elements. So then you go to the next page, now solenoid kit and processor assembly. Electrical items. They had to put a front axle shaft, as I mentioned. They did a hub, and they did also a sway bar link assembly, which is part of the suspension to keep the car from rocking back and forth. All of these things had to be done to a vehicle that only had 10,000 miles on it.
Kuhn, who testifies as an expert witness in automotive cases, says that's yet another red flag. All of those problems, especially the electrical problems, led him to believe the truck had been flooded. We decided to check it out. We arranged for Stephen's wife, Colleen, to bring the truck to Joe's garage, and guess what he found?
Mud is in the bottom of that seam behind this plug. There's things like pine needles. I'm going to take this rod and I'm just going to make a scratch mark through the mud.
So could any of this been caused by anything other than water damage?
There's no doubt in my mind what we've got. We've got a flood-damaged vehicle.
So if Joe's right, where did the car get flooded? Well, we couldn't figure it out.
You're always hitting a moving target because the longer it sits, the more and more it deteriorates. So
Auto salvage expert Art Heberer says that's not surprising.
Despite the fact of the title, the VIN number searches that you can do on the vehicle, if somebody is intent on hiding its past, they can do it.
A lot of dealers get a flood-damaged car without realizing they've got a flood-damaged car. They're generally concerned with how does it drive, how does it ride, does the engine sound okay, but they don't have time to start tearing out door panels.
And neither do you. So what should you look for?
Probably one of the things you can notice quickest is if any of the felt around the edges, around the sides, is water stain. If you see water stain, then you know what the depth of the water was, kind of like you'd have a ring around the bathtub or a water line on a boat.
And there are other warning flags. Inspect for mud or dirt caked in crevices, engine components, and the exhaust system. Use your nose. If there's a musty smell, there's a good chance the carpet has mildewed. If there's a strong air freshener, it may be masking that smell. And if the carpet or upholstery is new in a used car, there's a good chance they were replaced because the smell wouldn't come out. Remember that Lexus ES300 that Drew Van Dopp avoided? Well, last time we checked, it was still there, flooded. And there's a storm surge of others just like it, being cleaned up and prepped to flood the market.
This should be a major alarm for consumers. When they go out and look to buy, especially when they're buying a used car, they need to beware. If the deal seems like it's just too good, the price is really, really good, it may be just that. It may be too good.
As the old adage says, to be true.